Hey everyone, and welcome to this video on a case that I kind of looked at back when it came out back in 2021, but I kind of forgot about. And then I was reading some articles today because court ended early, and I wanted to cover it anyway, even though this hasn't gone to trial. This is the case from Maryland Island, Florida, where Alicia Red Campitelli, who was a piercing artist, who was a big supporter of mental health issues, was unalived by her boyfriend, Phillip Keller, who was a former MMA fighter. It's one of those stories that probably could have made for a good case. There's a lot of interesting parts to it. So I thought I'll make a short video and cover it anyway. This is from May 15, 2021, where Alicia Campitelli, who was 35 at the time, was found unalived in her home. And her fiancé, the 39-year-old Phillip Keller, who was the one calling 911, reported that their home had been broken into, robbed, and someone had unalived Alicia. But already there, suspicion started rising because he disconnected abruptly, just out of the blue. The 911 call, he just cut it short. And when the deputies arrived, they found Alicia with pew holes, and they began investigating the crime scene and gathering witness statements. And there they found out that a neighbor had reported hearing the pewing at approximately 1 a.m., several hours before the 911 call. And later, security footage revealed that Keller had been using her credit card at various locations between the time of the pewing and when he made the 911 call. So that kind of started raising suspicions against him. They also found that he had himself injuries after what seemed to be a gunshot wound. And then they found a phone call between Keller and one of his friends where he confessed. In the recording with the friend, he said, "I killed her, bro. Killed her. High as an expletive word. I did it. I don't know how I did it, but I can't live with myself knowing that." And apparently he was strung out on Molly when he did it. So it was a kind of an open and shut case. He called 911, went into hiding. They found him confessing to a friend that he strung out on Molly, had pewed her twice. A couple of days later, they spotted Keller in a bar. And when the deputies approached him, he tried to jump into a creek to get away from them. But he was detained, and he was put in Broward County Jail and was held without a bond. Initially, even though the facts I just gave you, he claimed he was not guilty. But as time went on, more and more forensic findings, witness testimonies, and of course his confession on the tape, he became aware that this probably wasn't a good case. He then charged his plea to guilty in the exchange that it wouldn't be a DP case, because if he had gone to trial, it would have been a DP case. So he pled to first-degree premeditated red rum, grand theft, fraudulent use of a credit card, and tampering with the evidence. And you can say, is it smart? Yeah, probably. They have the tape confessing he did it. We know juries. And also, he got the DP taken off the plate. The family didn't have to sit through a 2-week long trial. So probably the best for all parties in this case. It took them 4 years to get to it, but on the 3rd of February this year, he was sentenced, and they had the victim impact statements. Her twin sister, her mother gave impact statements. Her father also talked about how much he is missing his daughter, how much pain it caused. And he did seem to be wiping tears off his face. I'm not a body language expert. I know some people goes way more into stuff like that, but most people described him as emotionless during the proceedings. He was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole, so he will never walk out again. There's different stories about what he's getting. Either it's life without or it's 50 years, but he is now 43 years old, 45 years old, so he probably won't see the light of day. This case was, I don't know how much you watch MMA. It was a smaller federation he was fighting for, but it was one of those cases where it got some traction because of he had done that sport, and because she had been doing a lot of advocacy for mental health and addiction recovery. So it became a thing with Justice for Red to try and raise awareness about this. But it's also kind of ironic that a person who was so much into both mental health and addiction recovery ended up being unalived by a person who were high as F on drugs. It's a horrible case. It could have been an interesting case, but for the family, I'm happy that they will now have closure. He will be in prison for life. Some people in the community were talking about, I don't know if you know the Chris Benoit story, a wrestler who had suffered a lot of brain injuries, a lot of concussions, that could possibly have played into it. But there's been no reports of any of that other than, again, his admitted abuse of MDMA. We haven't heard anything about he had the concussion syndrome they have. So what drove him to it? It's hard to tell because, again, he took a plea, so we won't probably ever find out what happened in that house. And a sad case that shows you that DV and substance abuse is hardly ever anything positive. And again, remember, if you're stuck in any of it, get help, get out of it, because you never know when the string is going to snap, and some people will take it too far. Thank you for watching.